Channel open. Welcome back to Trek Continue. I'm Shane. As you can hear by the sound of my voice, I feel like it is shit. Which is very appropriate. I was called a human piece of feces several times on Twitter this week, so I might as well, live up to my reputation. Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. Episode 5 of Star Trek Picard is in the bank. Stardust City RAG. Canto Bite RAG. We're over halfway to the finish line, everyone, and something kind of happened in this episode. Kind of. I've had to check myself a little bit, right? I've noticed in weeks past I've been overly hopeful, which is odd for me. And watching other channels review Picard, some overly positive, some overly negative, I feel like the two that have really gotten it right have been Anti-Trekker and Lore Reloaded. And they've done a really, really, really good job of it. I have been a little too hopeful and wanting things to be better than they were. And I haven't allowed myself time to sit with the episodes, trying to pump these out. Not that it matters, not that there are that many views. But I try to get these out, take notes as I'm watching it the first time. So this week, because I wasn't going to work, because I do feel like shit, I watched it, sat with it, watched it again, which was hard to do, and take notes so I could gather all my thoughts and not be overly critical, overly nitpicky, or overly positive towards the episode. And still, this episode felt like a whole bag of nothing. With one or two good moments sprinkled in. Maybe if I don't think my opinion would have changed all that much, because it's kind of just like this filler episode that it advances the plot just this much. It's really just a check-in with certain people that don't even really need to be there, namely Picard and Seven, neither which really need to be in this episode. And it feels like they're trying to do these episodic adventures and add some humor and levity to it in this overall serialized story, and it just didn't work. This felt like if Firefly had ran 9-10 seasons and Joss Whedon was long gone and the original cast, except for like one or two holdouts, were long gone, and they were trying to bring in these less than stellar writers to create this narrative adventure that brought it back to the glory days of old, and it just fell on its face. And that's what this episode did. It fell on its face. So let's get into it, shall we? So we start off with Icheb. Only it's not really Icheb. Cool moment, they pull out his eyeball. I like that gory stuff. Technicians that are harvesting Borg parts are there. We find out Icheb's a lieutenant in Starfleet. Good for him. It's 12 years ago. We always kind of knew that was the path he was going to be on. But very, very quickly, we come to realize it's not actually Icheb. The actor Manu Intiraymi, I apologize for probably butchering that, was not brought back. They have a new actor, Casey King. Why? You bring back this character. I'm not the biggest Voyager fan. I'm not a big Icheb fan, but I respect what he means to Voyager and to Voyager fans, and what Voyager means to the overall narrative of Star Trek. You're going to bring him back just to kill him in the very first scene, not to give the new audience any time to get to know him or understand the stakes. Severin calls him her son, and then offs him with a 23rd century phaser because God forbid we bring whatever. At least for the Voyager fans, having the original actor come back would have served an emotional narrative. Here you're just like, wait, that's not him. That's not him. And it's piss poor. I'm at the point, especially now that we see Maddox in this episode, and it's confirmed that it's not the original actor, where I'm surprised they brought back Jonathan Del Arco. It probably has something to do with the fact that Jonathan Del Arco and Jerry Ryan are really good friends in real life. But I am shocked that we have Jonathan Del Arco back. And I'll probably just kill him too next episode. But here we have not Icheb being harvested and I guess dying from his wounds to the point where Seven comes in to save the day, kills all the technician doctors. She just offs her son with a phaser because he's beyond repair, I guess. There used to be a time in Star Trek where you could repair people and you gave it everything you got. And now, I'm going to die anyway. Okay, I'll just put you out of your misery. It's a bad plot device, bad storytelling, and carried absolutely no emotional resonance for anyone, really. I would imagine. I'm sure some people who just think it's great are going to be like, oh my God, it's so sad, Seven's son. But then people who are fans of Voyager have been literally petitioning online to bring back the actor to play Icheb. They got gypped. And they should be mad right now. I'm mad for them. It's sad. So then we go to Stardust City on Free Cloud, and we meet Witch Hazel, Mr. Miss Bojangles, Bejazzle, Bajj. What is it actually? It's Bajazy. And we meet I don't know. He looks like the Golgothan meets the poop monster, the poop alien from Men in Black 2. We got little gills because everyone's got to have gills and tentacles to read things. You know, they're a beta Inari, I believe was the name, and you can tell if you're full of shit, if your pheromones are full of crap. And Bruce Maddox is here. Kill him. Wait, no. We have other plans. Meanwhile, he's like 5 feet away, around the corner, like soap opera land, where the set is so small that they're going to have conversations with each other to each other's backs while the person behind it they're going to hurt or they're plotting against is right there within earshot. But, you know, let's pretend they didn't hear. So she goes over to not Bruce Maddox, not Brian Brophy, a new actor, John Ailes, who did a fine job with his scruffy beard looking worse than mine, and I'm sick. But she goes over to him in her very weird outfit that looks like a cross between the childlike Empress, Lilu's rags from The Fifth Element, and the Insectoid's shoulder pad, whatever things. Really, really weird outfit. Looks cheap. Looks flat out cheap. So then, you know, she's with not Bruce Maddox, and he talks about how the Tau Shi'ar destroyed his lab and disintegrated everything. She's like, ooh, they're very hard to make a deal with. Very villain of the week, twirling mustache, Dr. Evil. Again, I can keep comparing it, but it's just bad dialogue. Cheesy, one-dimensional bad guys who are supposed to be so cool and so devilish and so smart, and they just come across like idiots. She gives him the poison. He drinks it, and she's like, Star Trek used to be smart. I miss smart Star Trek. And so he passes out from the poison, and, you know, it's going to be hard to make a deal with the Tau Shi'ar. It's always such a pain in the ass. So stupid. So then we're back on the hero ship in the holodeck of Picard's Vineyard, which still makes absolutely no sense. And even Seven kind of calls him on it. And we find out Seven is broken, just like Picard. And she's a ranger. And while she finds being a ranger kind of pointless, she calls Picard out, at least she didn't give up completely, which is true. She's right. She's completely right about that. But again, it's just a deconstruction of our beloved characters. And I'm not the biggest, again, Voyager fan nor Seven fan, but this was just, ugh. Yeah, Steve Shives, who I often agree with and often completely disagree with. Either way, he's a YouTuber. He's made a career out of it. I respect him just as I respect all the other people, whether I agree with them or not. Had a great video recently as to why 709 was more than just eye candy. And I learned more about Seven in that because I don't really have an emotional connection to her than when I watched Voyager. And I think it was a great analysis of who she is. And I feel like they've completely thrown it all away. I guess that he's probably not going to think so, Steve. But, you know, I mean, I love to debate with him. I think he has a good Star Trek mind, even though I don't agree with a lot of his take on Discovery and Picard thus far. But I feel like they completely ruined her character. Now she's just this drunk, snarky person who's looking for revenge because one person died. Because Picard got all these people broke. They broke. You know, Kirk did not break when Spock died. People like Cisco was angry, but he still raised his son. He still went where he went, and he healed when he lost Jennifer. Like, these people just didn't crawl up into a ball and give the fuck up or go off on these revenge. Cisco didn't hunt down Picard to kill him. No. He took his orders from him with some anger, understandably so, but it's just... And you can have post-traumatic stress, but you have to handle it well. You have to handle it with respect. And you can handle it the way they handled Nog losing his leg, but the show's cheap, poorly written. Kristen Bear, terrible episode that you wrote. So anyway, Seven's a drunk, and she's snarky, and at moments I can recognize the influx in her voice, how she delivers lines, and the next moment, I don't. I agree with her being 19 years post-Voyager and have claimed more of her humanity and being a little bit more relatable. Well, not even relatable, just a little more human, right? But obviously her relationship with Chakotay failed. So, but there are many people in her life who brought her around to being more human. Icheb, Janeway, Chakotay, Tuvok, the Doctor, you name it. And So fine, she's mature, but she's regressed to talking like someone in the 21st century, like all these characters do, and it's not true. And there are moments where it sounds like Seven, there are moments where it isn't, and it just doesn't add up. It's like an actor, it's like Madonna who can't pick an accent. It just is jarring, and it doesn't mesh, it doesn't meld, and it doesn't bridge that gap the way I feel like the episode needed to, and it just felt bad. But she's gonna stick around and help Picard save her life, and she's finding out, that she can do some good because she does still have a moral compass, thankfully, even if she's a vigilante in her day job. Then we go into the dumbest scene where Rios doesn't know who 7-9 is, even though she'd just been onto a ship maybe half an hour ago. 7 of 9, Picard said. What, he just wasn't paying attention? Like, what? And you don't know who this person is? And you conveniently forgot, because I guess the ENH didn't remind you of it, that Picard was a former Borg himself. Oh, I conveniently forget about that. Rio so far has been probably the best new character that's on the ship now. And now he's just an idiot for the sake of exposition and telling the audience who 7 is. And how she might relate to Picard because they were both Borg at some point. That's just dumb. The only good part about that scene was Raffi. I admit it. Raffi was not insufferable in this episode, and a couple of weeks ago when I talked about how much I couldn't stand Michelle Hurd's performance, someone said to me on YouTube, I believe it was, where it's like, she's a great actress, one of the best actresses of our day. And I said, I hope that this series proves me wrong and you're right. And she did a great job. Shitty dialogue, she sucked. This dialogue was decent enough. It's the scene with her son, which I'm coming up to. She was good, and showing her trying to overcome her demons and reclaim who she was when she stops Rios from smoking in front of her, and then of course later with the stupid holograms, the snake tail, whatever it is, swiping that away, was good. That I appreciate that, and I'm going to get more into what's good about her, but also drawing about her later. Then we have that's what that scene was. The stupid Star Wars holograms. Again, there's no rules in this universe. They can just project onto every ship that's in orbit. It was just so dumb. Just so needless and so dumb. So, they've arrived at Canto Bight, and now they're going to play dress up. So Picard's acting like Sterling from Jeffrey, only not with any charm or charisma or a point to it. And Rios is dressed like a pimp because Seven says he needs a feather in his cap, and Raffi's like, you need more panache. And black bags are still a thing over people's heads and whatnot. It's just, and the Romulan boy who's upset he didn't get a hologram is all dressed up and acting like just a child. And I guess I know he's young, but and so the exposition and Girardi gives. Because what's Girardi? Is Girardi a cyberneticist, or is she a medical doctor, or is she both? Is she the new Jet Reno who can do everything, who's an engineer and a brain surgeon, and she's a cyberneticist and a medical doctor? And okay, I can kind of buy it because they were looking to build a flesh and blood android, but they really weren't. That was Maddox on his own. They were 1,000 years away. Okay, whatever. She's the end all be all. So she gives him a shot to control the pheromones in front of the poop monster lizard guy. But so they're all getting dressed up because the middlemen have to be more flamboyant to stand out so no one thinks they're with either sex. That's not how this kind of world works. This is just the writers being, we're so smart. We need to have a funny episode, a real funny episode where everyone dresses up and it's so cool and hip and right on. And hipsters at a dress up party like, oh my god, it's so cool. And they could be in a bar most of the episode. And let's have an in-world reason. We just have a throwaway line, and it truly was a throwaway line, a throwaway idea, a throwaway plot point. It was piss poor. And I'm going out of order because they jump back and forth. So Raffi is leaving the ship. Oopsie daisies. Raffi's leaving the ship, which I feel like this entire Raffi B plot was completely out of nowhere. It feels like a reshoot. It feels like a way for them to be like, she's just one note annoying character in the entire series. Let's get her to a point where she has some kind of depth and humanity to her, and then have it fall apart in her and she falls back into her old ways. Let's throw this in there. It felt like a reshoot. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't. I hope it wasn't. So she's leaving the ship. Now, when she came on the ship, Picard was surprised because it felt like she was trying to reclaim who she was. and get back into things and try to figure out this conspiracy and help JL and just reclaim who she was. All these characters have lost something and trying to reclaim who they were in some way or another, and Picard's their vessel to do that. Now you find out, out of nowhere, that her son, Gabriel, is on the planet. So she really went to Free Cloud once she found out that Maddox is on Free Cloud because she knew her son was there. So now she's leaving the crew entirely, hopefully, and Picard and her say their emotional goodbyes without saying their emotional goodbyes. Seems completely and totally out of nowhere. So now she wasn't there just to reclaim who she was or even at all. It was just to see her son, which is on the path to reclaiming who she was, but it just seems out of the blue, which is why I feel like this is completely out of continuity for the series. But the writing may just be that inconsistent and bad. So she goes down, she meets her son Gabriel, which I feel like I know that actor from somewhere, but I didn't bother to look it up. And it was the best scene of the episode. There's a better moment. There's a good moment later I feel was better, but this is the best overall scene. And Michelle Hurd knocked it out of the damn park. I stand corrected. And this actually felt like it had some weight to it. And I am shocked that they had the woman of ethnicity be a bad mother. Usually it has to be the guy. It has to be the man who's the bad father because he's the career-driven one. And when that happens, oh, he's an asshole for being career-driven. Usually it's like, oh, she's badass for being career-driven. But here, it wasn't. The son called her out. He wanted nothing to do with her. And it was a very good scene. I give my props to that, while it feels completely out of place in the episode. Then we find out that her son has a wife, a Romulan woman, who's pregnant. From the north, because she's got the ridges. And this is where the scene went, what? Because, oh, this is my mother. She's just passing through. I'm sorry. If I had a wife who knows my backstory, I'm sure, about how I'm estranged from my mother and how she was and how she's a crazy conspiracy theorist, you know, she's right. And she was pregnant with my child, and she just meets her at the reproductive clinic. My wife would have a larger, more animated, big response to that. I wouldn't be like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And then we're just going to leave. That would felt completely disingenuous. And while Raffi's reaction to it was strong and good and real and honest, I feel that whole part with the wife was just a letdown. And yeah, I know they're trying to work this scene in, I'm sure, as a reshoot into the overall episode and jiggle stuff around in the edit. But that part let the scene down. An otherwise overall good scene. So then we see a lot of Easter eggs in Canto Bight. So we have Mr. Motz. He's the best barber in Starfleet. And then we have Quark's Bar, where what's yours is ours. Dabo tables. Is Quark on Canto Bight? Has he left Deep Space Nine? I hope not. I know in The Visitor, he had left. He got that moon he always wanted and wanted to go over the bar. I like to think that Grand Nagus Rom surprised Quark with a chain of his own bars. That he's the regional overseer, but his main point of location, DS9. I really hope he didn't leave DS9. But hey, we got DS9 reference. But, Mr. Motz and Quark's, 2 Easter eggs. What are the chances of them being right next door to each other? Whatever. It is what it is. Oh, line of the episode? You're killing it. Really? Then we have, of course, the blah scene, which is all the setup with Rios and character. Ferenginar is mentioned. The Breen are mentioned. The shot that Girardi gave him makes it so he's... No, his lies aren't detectable. Oh, God, I'm really sick. His lies aren't detectable. And then, they bring down, and Picard is in character, and he is an asshole, and 7 is 7, and it just is a stupid, no-stakes standoff that just didn't mean anything. And it's kind of clear that Patrick Stewart was just having a lot of fun, but he's having fun at the expense of the character Picard. This I said last week felt the most like Picard in episode 4 of the series so far. This episode felt the least like Picard, and there's more on that later. But it felt like there was no stakes there, and I will say that Bajese and 7 seem to have been lovers at some point. They seem to be alluding. There's a lot of things they allude to in this show in a sexual way. I think that's just trying to sexy up the show and have intrigue. But it seems as if maybe if she was more than just undercover as a ranger to try to get Borg, but that they have a deeper history, which whether they do or they don't, whether Seven was in Bedazzled's Bewitched's bed or not, what sense does it make for her to, and they get the whole backstory, Icheb was freed from the Collector just like I was by Voyager in the Delta Quadrant. Ooh, exposition, bang, 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 people don't know, now they know. Why is it that Witch Hazel had Seven in her grasp, the more coveted prize of the freed Borg from the Collective, but went after Icheb, allowing Seven a chance to kill her people? Why not take her when you have her, put her in a sedative when she trusts you, get her, and then go after Icheb, and you have all the prizes? But no, everyone's got to be stupid. They have all these different plot points that they never think, how do they make sense? Do they make sense? How do we add them? How do we make adjustments to have it seem like, you could easily throw it in there that before she had a chance to get me, I went away, or I figured it out, and something. But no, they don't bother to do that because, it's just so cool. Makes no damn sense. No damn sense. And how did BJJ not even notice Picard? What, the Clark Kent syndrome? He had a beret and an eye patch, and then he takes off like, oh, the famous Jean-Luc Picard. You're so obsessed with the Borg, you would know what the man who was Locutus looks like, especially when he has an eye patch. Wait, which eye did he have the eye patch over? Okay, not the same one as where the implants were as a boy at the Boyg, but come on, you recognize him. Just dumb. On the ship, you got Girardi freaking out by using the transporter, really, because there's more to her story, and she has a little run-in with the EMH, who only activates when he senses someone's heart rate is elevated or whatever. She deactivates him, and that's going to come into play later. And then Rio saves the day as like Seven. He gives her kind of like visual communication, which was nice. It wasn't all verbal, basically saying, I'm going to give you a chance to come back down here with the remote transporter. But let's all go back to the ship, and they rescue him. And Mac's like, oh, my apprentice lover. She's like, oh, Daddy, welcome back to the ship. Oh, Daddy. So then, of course, Rios, he leaves the remote transporter beacon on the console for Seven to take, and she does. And Clueless Picard doesn't notice it. Seven's like, I gotta go. The Rangers are here. Here's my card if you ever need a Ranger. They're like, okay, take some phases and blah, blah, blah. But then here comes the best moment of the show, which is when Seven asks, when you were free from the Borg, do you feel you're claiming humanity? Yes. All of it? No. Great moment. However, he was a Borg for all of what? Not even 6 days? And she was a Borg for all of 18, 20 years? Not comparable. Not comparable. Of course you're going to have a harder time reclaiming humanity when you didn't really understand what it was. You were 9 when they took you? Picard was there for a few days. And yes, it's traumatic. We saw it. A moment in the Collective is terrifying and would scar anyone for life. But Picard's experience is not comparable to your Seven. Annika, I like that they used that name because her lover used it. But it's just not at all comparable. I'm sorry. So then Seven goes down to the planet and kills Bedazzled, Witch Hazel, JJ, Bukaki, Bajazzi. Completely disintegrates her, vaporizes. And then she goes into a firefight, and that's the last see of Seven for now. Who knows what they'll bring her back? Who knows? Then back on the ship. The only purpose that Bruce Maddox serves in this entire season, that the whole first 5 episodes have been about finding him to start to get to the twin, is to tell Picard that Soji's on the artifact. And of course, Girardi, who we all knew was up to something with Commodore O, was listening in the background and blah, blah, blah. And old man, Hefe, I like that they call him Hefe. I like this budding relationship with Picard and Rios. It's the best part. And it's going to up my fee. We're going to a Borg cube, captured Borg cube. Fine. And then he goes and knocks on Raffi's door. Doesn't ring the doorbell. And she's like, leave me alone. So it sounds like it's going back to who Raffi was, because they probably had her be like that the entire season, and like, oh, let's throw some humanity in there, and but to get her back to where she was. And Picard's like, welcome back, good to have you back, whatever it was. And he smirks, like, what kind of friend are you? You know her son lives there. You know she was there for that, and even though it wasn't mentioned before, you know she was there for that. So obviously she's back on the ship, and she's upset. It didn't go well. So you're smirking at, yeah, it's great to have your new number one back, but you're kind of happy that things didn't go well with her son? You're an asshole, Jean-Luc. Again, does not act like Jean-Luc at all. Not Picard. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And then, of course, Girardi kills Maddox. The EMH comes in. She deactivates him again. The EMH should have a thing where if someone is doing something wrong, he reactivates Del Rios. But that's just not how it works. It's fine. Whatever. It's a glitch. She fails his organs. If only you knew what they told me. I wish they hadn't told me. So like everyone else in the show, she just gives up. Instead of just being like, you know what, I'm going to tell the truth to everybody. This is what's going on. I'm going to do the morally right thing and not kill my mentor lover and talk to these people and say, hey, you know, we got this one, and we got Picard and Seven and Romulan baby and Raffi Pataki and Raffi Laffy and Rios. Yeah, you know, instead of talking to these people, I'm just going to do the Commodore's bidding, and it's just stupid, and it's poorly executed. And she's, I wish they hadn't told me. The dialogue so piss poor. It's so cliche. Just by the numbers, bad writing from a James Bond spoof. It's just unfortunately what it is. I do appreciate the fact they had the tricorder sound in sickbay, and then of course in the scene with Picard and Rios, they had the for the Enterprise that you can hear over my video. I don't recall hearing that in previous bridge scenes on that ship, but it is what it is. So really, what are my takeaways from this? What kind of doctor is Girardi? I guess she's a doctor of everything, just as Jet Reno's great-great-great-grandchild. Again, there were moments where it felt like Seven. There were moments that she didn't, but she was overall pointless. I thought Seven being in this show was making sense, even though she has no business really being around Picard. But I would make sense that they had sought each other out because they're both liberated from the collective after she returned with Voyager, and that Icheb would be a part of that, and that Hugh would be a part of that. It would make sense that she was in there for the overall Borg narrative, but she's a glorified bounty hunter. She's Boba Fett. She's Seven of Fett. And it makes no damn sense that she's here. It's a bad, stupid revenge story with cheap stakes because they killed a character that's beloved from Voyager, didn't bring back the original actor, didn't give a chance to really even understand what their relationship was 19 years post. Well, at that point, okay, not 19 years post, but 7 years post Voyager's return. Like, makes no damn sense at all why she's this. And hopefully she comes back and she is integral to the plot with the Borg, but I just have a sense that they won't. And they'll probably kill Hugh next week. What was the point of her being here other than to say, we got Seven back, everybody. We got Eye Candy back. Oh, she's so badass. You could have traded Locutus. Yes, her only real purpose was to be traded to get in there to get Maddox. But you can trade Locutus a Borg too. So really, what was the point of her being in there other than just the writers having her in there? Put her in, make her intricate to the story, to the Borg. If that's an overall narrative, it makes sense that the liberated Borg are relevant to that plot, not some side story that's trying to be Firefly meets The Last Jedi meets stupidity. A plus was that we didn't get the CW crowd with Nirik and Soji. We didn't get Incestual Sister, even though I would have loved to have seen her in more leather. And no Vulcans wearing sunglasses. Those are the high points of this. Other than that, it's a kind of unforgettable episode that only serves one to see Seven again for no reason, and for Maddox to say they're on the artifact. That's it. Oh, and to truly confirm everyone's suspicions that Girardi is working with the baddies. That's it. Tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe. And have a great week, everybody. And I'm going to lay down. End transmission.